So it was my intention today to talk about the rules updates for Warcry 2.0. And really we're waiting on one piece of information to slot in, and that is the reserve phase. So until that's confirmed, I'm going to hold back on that whole video of the changes in rules and that kind of thing, and we'll cover that later. But today I wanted to talk about the Warcry Compendium and really kind of a wish list and some predictions of what we might see there. So there's already some things that we already know. So for example, we know about the rules and campaigns that we're going to get for all of the different factions. We know there's going to be 40 factions. We know there's going to be reactions in that book. And we know it's going to have details for allies and monsters and thralls and all that kind of thing. But I just want to spend some time really going through those individually, as well as other things that I think need to appear in this compendium. Okay, so the first thing is the reactions. So anyone that looked at yesterday's update that had all the details of the new reactions and all that kind of thing, the standard reactions that are going to be in the core book, and each individual warband is going to get some reactions as well and that kind of thing. What I really want is the new reactions for the warbands to be really diverse and have a really broad range. So we'll know from some of the abilities cards of various warbands that effectively we get a lot of kind of abilities that are very similar, just worded slightly differently and that kind of thing. I want the reactions in Warcry 2.0 to be diverse and really mixed up. So I don't want to just see rewordings of the same reaction in a whole bunch of different warbands. So lots of diversity in the reactions, please. Now I want some Cursed City integration as well. So I want to be able to add all of our heroes into our warbands and that kind of stuff. But I also want to have potentially a warband just made up of Cursed City heroes. I think it'd be really cool to do that. We did get some of the enemies appearing in some of the last edition of Warcry. Remember, we used to get some updates on the website with some campaigns and that kind of thing, and the enemies from Cursed City did appear there. But I would like to see all of the models from that game appear in Warcry. And same again really for the Underworlds game. So we got all of the models, all the little warbands from Underworlds that appeared right at the tail end of Warcry 1.0. And again, I want them all in this compendium. I don't want to be waiting forever for them to be added in again or anything like that. So yeah, yes please, I want them, and I want them now. Next up again, we have the monsters, the allies, and the thralls. Now we know that some of these are going to be added. Basically, I want the Warcry new edition to pick through all of the different Tome of Champions and the Monsters and Mercenaries book and all that kind of thing. And I want to drag out all that information from there for those monsters, those allies, and the thralls. And I want them all to appear in the one compendium. I don't want to keep going over old ground and having things drip fed to us. Everything that came in the last edition, I want immediately in the new edition. Now, in terms of terrain, there was quite a lot of terrain kits that came out for Warcry 1.0, and they had all of their rules and that kind of thing, and they had their battle plan cards. All that stuff was already in there. Now, I want to be able to use all that stuff in the new version. Now, we know that from the Gnarlwood setting that there's going to be various terrain-specific rules, and I want that to be the case for anything else that's gone before. So if it's had a Warcry label on it at some point in the past, so specifically the terrain kits, I want information for all of that stuff to be available to play in the new game. Now, there's no confirmation that there's going to be any of the chaotic beasts that were received in the last Warcry starter set. And throughout the Tome of Champions that were released subsequent to that, we got things like some undead and some of the Trogoths and all that kind of thing that all added into the mixture of the various creatures that we could find on the battlefield that we could use really as our chaotic beasts. So as such, this is a compendium, therefore it should have all of that information there. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Now, it might sound like I'm asking for a lot of different things from this compendium, but it was said that it is a weighty tome. It's expected that there's going to be a lot of things in there. So these are all the things that I really want to make sure are included. Now, the next thing is probably going to be the most difficult thing for Games Workshop to deliver, and that is balance. Now, at the end of Warcry 1.0, there were so many warbands and fighters that were added in, and you know, everything became really chaotic, and it almost destroyed all sense of balance within the game. So some warbands were extremely powerful and other ones were still very, very weak. So they need to do something to balance that out. You know, perhaps the weaker warbands might get enhanced abilities or reactions or something like that. But something needs to be done to improve this game from that perspective. Now, one of the ways they could do that is if they added some sort of tier system. So if you look in the Blood Bowl rulebook, you can see it's got all the different teams in there, and it's very, very well known within that game that some teams are genuinely much better than others. And as a result, they've got a tier system. You know, they've got 3 tiers, and you know, generally you know what you're going to get as a result. And I think that because there's such a huge amount of warbands, so again, there's over 40 warbands, the game could really benefit by something like a tier system. Just so as, you know, if you're going into tournaments or you're getting in with your gaming group and no one really knows how they're going to get started with the game, we can sort of balance things up at the start so as we don't waste any time on any really weak warbands and that kind of thing. And the final thing that I would like to see in Warcry, it's got that word quality. So what do I mean by that? And I mean genuinely, this is going to be a book that is going to get used all the time. It's got every single warband in there, and it's got a lot of campaigns and rules and that kind of thing. So this book is going to get a hell of a lot of use, and so I think they should do it in a hardback. I don't know if they will, but I think it would be a really good idea to get this in a hardback book, just so as it's kind of protected for prolonged use and that kind of thing. Like I say, every warband that's available in the game so far is going to be in this one book, so I would prefer that to be a quality edition. And there you go, that's it. That's my prediction / wish list for the Compendium. So I'm really looking forward to it coming out. I am expecting a very large book here. But yeah, I would like these things to be present, or at least a lot of it to be covered. So that's kind of it. So I'll be back again tomorrow with that rules update. So again, as long as they release the details of that reserve phase, if that comes out, then I'll be doing the kind of rules roundup for everything that's changed. And remember what I said at the start of this video, the reaction abilities are going to be so important to Warcry because they are very, very tough and strong. All that's left to say is thanks very much for watching. It is greatly appreciated. If you're enjoying this Warcry content, please consider hitting that subscribe button because there's going to be a lot more of it coming. The only other way to really benefit the channel is if you pre-order your things with Element Games. If you use the link that's in the description, it won't cost you a penny more, but it will really help the channel. So thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated. I'll see you all very soon.